The powerful ocean current that carries tropical warmth from the South Atlantic to northern countries has slowed down to a degree unprecedented in the past millennium, according to newly published research. The phenomenon has created an unusual pocket of cooling temperatures in the far North Atlantic, even as global warming heats the world overall. Yes, it's the exact climate catastrophe envisioned in The Day After Tomorrow, the 2004 movie about how a slowing current triggers a new ice age and deep freezes New York City. In real life, the current could cause several coastal flooding between New York and Boston and affect the distribution of marine wildlife, putting coastal fishing industries at risk. If the slowdown persists or intensifies, weather could significantly change in parts of the northern hemisphere that have traditionally been warmed by this current, affecting everything from agriculture to urban transportation. These are the kinds of things that scare me, said oceanographer Scott Rutherford of Roger Williams University in Rhode Island, who co-authored the new study, How Much Is This Going to Change Temperature, Sea Level, Marine Ecosystems? We're starting to mess with big things now.
So what does that mean for somebody that doesn't really follow this kind of thing?
I don't know all the exact science of it, but it's basically saying that parts of the ocean are, because of the temperature of it, can affect the flow and the currents of the ocean. They're saying that essentially that is changing drastically in the northern Atlantic right now. So, all the wildlife and everything that's in the ocean and those parts of the ocean, the current and everything about it is basically changing and could cause flooding and damage and continue to be worse and maybe cause, I don't know, if a day after tomorrow scenario is going to be likely anytime soon. But these are just things that are starting to show signs now. So be prepared.
Be prepared.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, go.
And we're back. Thank you, Sean, for the assist on the intro there.
I'm so terrible at this stuff.
By the way, he is Sean.
I am Sean. I am Groot? No, I'm Sean.
And I am Josh. Thanks for tuning in to listen to another episode of The Heavy Sigh.
Now, what we said at the beginning before the intro was very important to you, correct? Otherwise, it wouldn't.
Hopefully to everyone, but yeah, sure. It's an excerpt from an article that I read about the changing temperatures and the currents, in the ocean. It's probably something that just doesn't get a lot of news, a lot of coverage, because until it will cause a disaster, it's probably not going to get much coverage. So,
do you know at what point they would consider it, disaster causing?
No, I really don't.
Okay.
I really don't. More research would be required on my behalf to understand the full capacity of this, and really to even get like this. There's a doctor in here that has published a bunch of work on this, and you could probably look up research that he's done. So even if you're curious in like a time frame maybe of what he's talking about, then I'm sure they're starting to put some theories out about that.
Okay. And where did you find this information?
A website. How about I just post the article?
Perfect.
I'll post the article via our social media, or maybe even I'll link it in like the show notes too.
Perfect.
So
awesome.
people can check out that article and do some research if you're interested. But specifically because this article mentioned The Day After Tomorrow, it got my brain thinking about, instead of taking this in we're all doomed scenario, let's just talk about some disaster movies.
Now, what do you consider a disaster movie? Is it just Elemental?
That's a good question, because I was like looking up some stuff, and I was checking out these lists that people had on like IMDb and other things, and I'm like, because I wanted to watch a couple before we did this show.
Right.
and also to refresh my memory on maybe ones that I forgot about. And people were putting stuff in there that's like, yeah, it's like kind of sort of like that, but not really. In order for it to be a disaster movie to me, I think the disaster needs to be in the movie. So even saying something like, even though it's cool as hell and I like it, like something like what's his nuts?
Sharknado? That is a disaster.
That's a disaster movie.
Yeah, it is.
No, I Am Legend.
Yep.
Okay, really cool movie. I like it. I know some people have their issues with it. That was in one of the lists.
Really?
That to me is not. That is post-disaster. Like the world is already gone. We're just dealing with a man surviving it at this point.
Okay.
So it's kind of even almost the same thing with like Interstellar. We're past that now. We're dealing with like the aftermath and the survival of it. So
I did see someone list The Book of Eli as a disaster movie, and it couldn't be farther from that because it's after the fact.
right.
I do like how, like in The Book of Eli, they mention that some people remember the world before the event happened, and then there's characters that have no idea. So they got to hear these tales of, electricity and moving cars and stuff like this from somebody else.
It's another cool thing and a big part of why I like The Last of Us is because you have this total, different association and different viewpoints from Joel, who lived through this, to Ellie, to where she only knows this world as being an infected, quarantine-zoned, shitty world, But that's a good point and a good question because to me I think it needs to be about the disaster, at least mostly.
For sure.
Have the disaster in the movie.
So I got to ask, have you seen the movie 2012?
I have.
Would you consider that one?
Absolutely.
Because like the last, I'd say half of it is more their journey to get to that ship than it is them escaping the storm.
It's still going on though. The world is still in upheaval and chaos, and I would say the second half of it deals in more of dealing with the people, which is fine. That's okay. The disaster is still in the movie though. 2012
was the first movie that the Canton Imagine Theater got the D-box seats.
Oh no.
And I paid like the $15 extra to get that. It was so worth it. That was the one movie I went to that had the most action out of the seats.
Yeah.
And mainly due to the scene where they're flying out of LA.
Now the D-box ones, they don't just vibrate, like they move too,
yeah,
right?
They shake left and right and back and forth.
Okay.
And then I saw, just a little quick tidbit, I went and saw the second Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr. And every time somebody got punched, the seat rattled. But for whatever reason, if you left it on high intensity, it wasn't like a little shake. It was like an earthquake kind of thing, and you were spilling your drink and popcorn everywhere.
Yeah, that's a serious punch.
Yeah, watching my nephew scramble with his food was amazing that night. Dropping nachos everywhere.
Hey, turn down that intensity, man.
But, disaster movies, some of them are really good, and a lot of them they get a bad rap. Do you feel the disaster has to be believable in order for it to be good?
No.
Okay, so like you could probably find some entertainment out of Sharknado. If it didn't have Tara Reid in it.
I've never watched it, so I'm biting my tongue, but that movie does look pretty terrible.
They even say on the box of the DVD.
But I mean, that is, again, it's knowing what you're going into, right? It's knowing what kind of level, what percentage of your brain that you might need to turn off or tune down a little
98
in order to enjoy it. Exactly. You need to turn down more.
You need to turn it to Sean level to enjoy that stuff.
You need to turn it down to Sean level in order to enjoy Sharknado, but you could probably turn it up a little bit more to enjoy, say,
Ian Ziering.
Deep Impact.
Oh, God, yeah.
So,
like one movie, and I don't necessarily consider it a disaster movie because it probably isn't, even though there's a disaster surrounding what could happen, was The Core.
That was, you know what? That was actually one of the ones I was gonna watch, but I didn't. Because I kind of remember that one, and I was curious how the story and things from that would actually hold up now, because it got a lot of flack back then.
I don't recall the story being anything major, and I want to say it was pretty close to Armageddon with like the love stuff, and he's going to help the world and she doesn't want him to, and all that other rigmarole.
Was it? See, I guess I barely remember.
And no
the
Bruce
movie.
Willis. So, no, but like going to the center of the earth
Yeah.
to stop I think it was just from the core from exploding.
Cool idea.
Yeah.
It was. The core was gonna like
The
overheat.
concept was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was a good movie for what it was.
I feel like they don't do enough. I mean, there's been like flooding scenarios and things like that, But yeah, stuff like the Earth's core and like the depths of the ocean, that kind of stuff, I feel like is an untapped source that they could definitely use. Obviously you get like the tidal waves and stuff that like destroy things, but
Right.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a cool concept. But did you watch it recently?
No.
Okay.
I remember renting it from the movie store when I was like 14.
I'm gonna have to go back to it. Maybe if we ever go back to it, we'll bring it up briefly and tell you guys if it's still a big piece of shit.
Now, when you look at these disaster movies and you see them and these people that are like running from them and staring at the tidal wave that's crashing on their faces, do you see yourself as that guy that's going to lead the troops and start humanity all over again? Or are you that guy that's going to get a face full of water 5 minutes in?
Probably somewhere in the middle.
So like you're going to make it out of the city, but you're not going to help start mankind all over again.
No, if I have to, I feel like I would. I don't know that, and I feel like we've kind of had a conversation about like us personally and our group of friends and everything, and like if one were to be anointed a leader, who would it be? Who would everyone follow and everything? And I don't. You said me.
Oh, for sure. Let's make it known to the listeners that if it wasn't for you, we'd all meet up at the same place in like 12-hour spreads. Let's go to Starbucks at 7. Okay, I'd be there at 7 a.m. Phil would show up at 7 p.m. Bert would forget to show up. Michelle would text us 30 hours into it saying she can't make it. It would just be a disaster.
I totally forgot about it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I mean, just because I tend to be the one that organizes events, I don't know that like I would be the leader of the group.
Would you send all of us out on a berry hunt without your information? Hey guys, go pick some berries. Okay, and then like 60 of us die. Because we went and picked berries but saw a Playboy magazine and ended up reading that instead.
I don't know. I guess if I had to step up and there had to be a person like shit was going to start falling apart otherwise, then yeah, okay, I would do it.
I'm not saying that to the scale of the kind of person you would be, but you would be Dennis Hopper in Land of the Dead.
And I have not seen Land of the Dead.
You would be, maybe it was, look it up real quick. It's the second one. It's got Dennis Hopper and...
I think you're thinking of Dawn of the Dead?
No.
Day of the Dead?
Nope. Look, I think it's Land of the Dead.
mean,
Look it up real quick. Please hold while we research this. And by we, I mean Josh. All right, it has been proven that it was Land of the Dead, but you would be the guy in charge, but you would just delegate everything to everybody because that's what we would need. Like I feel like the only person in our group of friends that we know now that may be able to survive without being told what to do is John Schwab. And that's because he'd build a fireworks display in 7 seconds and just ruin people.
Which would be fantastic. Yeah, that'd be it would be interesting to see exactly if we all did band together. Like I think we would all have good tasks, My pick of like what scenario and specifically like what movie could I see as being our realistic scenario, as in like how things would I don't know, be relevant or associated to us. I did kind of base on that factor of like, which one could I actually see us being most like. So for that reason, my pick is Shaun of the Dead.
Aw.
You like that? However,
I'm going to be the guy that dies at the end.
I was gonna say, however, I'm more Sean and you're more Ed.
Yeah, that's very true.
And is that not kind of what would happen with us?
Oh, for sure.
Like, shit would just go down, but we'd like just be hanging out, playing video games.
Let's go to Winchester
while
till it's all blows over.
Yeah, the zombie apocalypse is going on, and somehow we'd make a decision of like who to go rustle up and save. Every decision that we make ends up being a bad one, and we end up at like a
Especially
Starbucks.
me.
We end up at like a Starbucks or a coffee house somewhere.
I feel like I would be Gary from The World's End in that situation, where I just hit every bar possible.
Well, I mean, their plan is to go to the Winchester.
In The World's End?
Winchester? No,
No.
Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, Shaun of the Dead. Well, that's Sean's plan the whole time. He just wants to go to the Winchester and let it all blow over. Poor Phil. I think that was the stepdad's name, wasn't it?
That was the stepdad's
Yeah.
name, yeah. When they're going over the plan over and over.
Yep.
Okay, get the car.
So,
Get Mom, kill Phil.
sorry, Phil. Let me ask this: what is your favorite? Do you have a favorite natural disaster movie?
Well, Shaun of the Dead would actually be up there.
Okay.
I mean, I know it's geared more towards comedy,
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, a zombie apocalypse is technically would be a disaster movie, right?
I mean, this is how you categorize disaster.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, How to Lose a Guy in
It
10
is.
Days could be a disaster for people.
It is something, and it is technically an infection that is taking over humans, that is causing the destruction of the human race. So I think that qualifies. Shaun of the Dead. If I could jump quickly to another one, Independence Day.
How would you fare? Would you be with Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum in that ship? Or would you be that girl like it's blasted on the rooftop?
No, man, I'm gonna be in the ship. I'm gonna be trying to figure some stuff out. I'm gonna be
Cold. What's it
or
called? It's a virus.
wait, you're gonna be Randy Quaid, aren't you?
Oh, hell yeah.
You're just gonna be like getting lit and then sacrifice yourself.
Fuck yeah, drive my plane right up into the butt of the ship.
Would you do that?
Hell yeah. Nobody believes me for the first 90 minutes of the movie.
Yeah. Well, you know.
When you claim to have been probed by the CIA, you know, that kind of shit happens.
And you're constantly in a state of drunkenness.
I will say that I will either be A, Randy Quaid, or in all seriousness, probably Vivica A. Fox.
The stripper?
Yeah. Dancing for
Sorry,
money.
I'm sorry, the dancer.
No, I mean, I'd be that impatient person, not impatient person. I'd be that person that just wants to get away, but just keeps running into problems all the time. Oh my God, I'm safe. Nope, alien ship. Oh my God, I'm safe. Nope, beam of death.
Beam of death. Yeah, I would definitely be curious. So I would definitely be more the Goldblum character. Like, I'd be very curious into why they're here. What exactly is going on? What are they gonna do? So yeah, I don't think I would definitely not be in the welcoming party and getting on skyscrapers with signs, and I'm not going to be the ones that panic immediately and flee the cities either. So
Smart. Now, I'm going to ask you about a movie, and I would need your help.
yeah,
The World's End. Would you help me hit all 12 bars?
I would be the guy drinking rain. But yeah, I would do it with you.
Ah, yes. He just wanted that last bar, man. Poor Gary.
Do you mean up until that point would I help you still?
Yeah.
There's like freaky robot
Like if there's just nothing but
things.
blue robots coming after us.
and you're just
Yeah.
and we have our chance to escape, but instead you
Don't lecture me. Don't lecture me.
Instead you want to
Yeah, I just want
go
that.
hit that last bar.
I want that last bar.
You know what, man? If we have a good shot, we have an opportunity to make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'll stand with you, friend.
Yes. What other alien movies?
I didn't even think of The World's End, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know how. It's The World's End, and
Yeah.
I didn't think of.
Well, the moment you said Alien Invasion, I put that one on the list because they get
But
taken.
yet I thought of Shaun of the Dead.
Yep.
Same damn people.
Well, I mean, let's be a little more realistic with the zombie stuff, like Dawn of the Dead, Land of the Dead, Resident Evil.
See, but that's why I picture Shaun of the Dead being more realistic, because
Mhm.
slow-moving, like, no-brain zombies, like...
Right. Well, that's where...
We're absolutely going to have more... In the beginning.
Right.
It would probably go almost like that. In the beginning, we're actually going to have more fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we're going to, like, go outside and, like, throw records at their heads, you know?
Well, that's where I see a lot of it, like the George Romero Land and Dawn of the Deads, where these things can run, they can climb. I think it was Dawn of the Dead where they're stuck in the mall and they're talking, via walkie-talkie and signs with the gun shop owner.
Yeah.
And they're holding up signs with celebrity lookalike names, and all of a sudden you see the one that looks like that celebrity just go up in pieces. That would be fun.
But to kind of ramp up the threat, you'd be looking at more like a World War Z kind of zombies.
Yeah.
Where they're just, they're fast and they're vicious. And,
I'd just like to enjoy a Pepsi without cancer. You know what? The movie's like 2 years old. There's no spoilers. Spoilers are done.
No, I don't remember.
Have you seen it?
I have seen it.
Remember at the end where because there were specific people they weren't going after? They would just run around them.
That's right. It was the sick people.
Yeah, and they thought Brad Pitt injects himself with cancer.
That's right.
He enjoys a Pepsi.
I don't even know that it was cancer. It was something.
No, it was cancer.
It was something.
It was cancer.
Nasty.
It was cancer. Because I remember him going, "So I'll die of cancer," and they're like, "No, we have a cure for it." And then they just kind of end it with him drinking the Pepsi and walking out.
I just thought it was...
Nope. I think it was cancer. I'm like 7% sure it was cancer. How many people have I offended by shouting cancer?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, email us at theheavysigh@gmail.com. Here's an interesting question. How big does your group get? Do you let them just expand exponentially, or do you pull the Rick Grimes and leave it to like 5-6 people? Because you let someone new join in like halfway in, you have a reason and right to be skeptical. But at the same time, does your morality play in where like I shouldn't leave this person alone?
I feel like my morality is definitely going to be a strong factor in it at all. So, I don't know. I guess it depends on what you're trying to do exactly. If you're trying to
survive.
Yeah, if you're just trying to survive, then I don't know. It's hard to imagine a scenario in where I would like send someone away that needed help.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I guess I wouldn't really care about the number. I mean, everyone can help in some way, right?
Well, I don't know if you've seen it, but did you watch The Walking Dead up to the point where they get to the prison?
Yes.
Okay, so when they go in and the prison, they have like that entire wing.
Yeah.
And Rick's like, "We'll just take these block of cells here." And those people are like, "No, sorry." Would that be you? Would you be like, "Yeah, go ahead and take that," or would you be like, "Well," because these guys had the food, they had the water.
Yeah. You got that whole prison, man. No,
so would
I'd
you
just be
protect?
like,
Would you
yeah.
protect your supplies, or just let them have what they want? In terms of those couple of cells, because then this is like 6 more mouths, 6 more. There's a pregnant lady you got to deal with. Thankfully, for not much longer.
I would say share everything.
Spoiler
but
alert.
if you share everything though, then that goes both ways. If you have rations and supplies and all that, and you're willing to give and share, then yeah, if there's work and help that needs to be done, or just kind of in general maybe security, looking out for one another, then everyone does their part.
This is where I'd take the Sawyer role. And as 100% useless as I'd be...
Just take the guns.
Yep, I'd take the guns. I would just make sure that everybody involved had a role and played a part. If they were lazy and just read books all day like me, no. I will stay in my tent. And you can come get a gun when you ask for it. Knowing full well that I am that guy that I would kick myself out of the group. So... that's why I need to be the leader. Leader, dibs.
Now you're already
dibs.
You're like,
Dibs.
you're going to be a leader, and now
Dibs.
you're immediately like, nope,
Yep.
sorry. I'm going to take all the guns, and you're going to have to come to me.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
Who knows if we'll even have guns.
Oh, we will.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, that's good.
They're going to be Nerf guns and rubber band guns, but guns
Sweet.
nonetheless.
But we can lace them with poison.
Until I shoot myself by mistake.
So, I mean, what about you? If I'm going to be a Goldblum in an Independence Day type, whether it's zombies or alien, an alien takeover or something like that, where I'm just going to be the guy that's trying to band people together and to survive and figure things out. What about you? What do you think you would be like, and what do you think you could survive in? Like, if there were going to be a disaster scenario, what would you be like? Oh, let it be that one because that's the one I probably would survive.
I would probably do best in like just an invasion style disaster movie, whether it be aliens.
Something where you probably have to fight.
Yeah, oh, for sure.
You just want a Hulk smash.
That is a fucking goal. I will paint myself green for this to happen.
Just everyone else is like covering themselves up in like mud.
Yeah.
There's Sean going, where's the green paint?
They're gonna be looking for army men.
Where's the green paint and the purple shorts?
They're gonna be looking for army men. They're not gonna be looking for a Hulk. No, as temperamental as I am and as hot-headed as I am, my battle is gonna be my first thought. I'm gonna be that fool that dies on the front line trying to save my friends. It's just an ice cream truck down. Boom. Done.
I mean that's appreciated, but yeah, don't come on, man. We'll need you around. Be a little bit smarter.
We all need ice cream sandwiches.
Yeah, we
for
do.
the group.
Cornettos.
Yeah, I mean, that would be my ideal situation. Natural disasters are probably a little out of my wheelhouse right now, simply because I don't know basic surviving skills.
I think a lot of people would surprise themselves.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, at least enough to the point to where they would, minimally, at least figure out how to stay alive.
Now, growing up, I had a lot of hunter and camping relatives, hunters and campers and stuff like that. So I think deep down, when it came time, I would just know, like subconsciously, would just be like, oh, you do this to put up a tent, you do this to start a fire. You can eat these berries, but I'd stay away from these ones. But just trying to think of it now, I'm screwed. If it doesn't involve a roof and some electricity, done.
I think very few people are probably gonna know those types of things, and it is kind of goofy that's like the number one thing that like people think of is stuff like that. It's like, oh, I'm gonna be out in the woods and I'm gonna be stuck with eating poison berries and poison mushrooms. It's like, well, that's actually a very minimal percentage probably type scenario that you're going to be in.
Well, they even tell you in like all the disaster shows and books and articles and stuff, the first thing you want to do if something ever does happen is just get out of a city. Because every city, and this is just, this is what ifs.
Right.
But, there's always the looters, the robbers.
Right.
There's no law anymore, so people just go insane and start killing one another. So, all the survival tips are get out of the city.
Yeah. See, and you asked, like, how big does my group get or anything like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm rounding up people that
Yeah.
I'm thinking specifically. Like, I thankfully, I know people that are familiar with such things. So I'm rounding up my,
Your Fantastic Four?
my herb lovers and my farmers and
Nice.
and those people. I'm going to gather them up. I'm going to gather up some people.
If you need any muscle.
I was gonna say, people like yourself and others that are gonna be good for security.
Mm-hmm. I'd be terrible at security. They'd be like, "Oh, I got a Snickers bar." I'd be like, "Come on in."
And then people like Mike who would probably be good strategists and things like that, and I could argue with him and tell him that he's wrong. Things like that. Do we get our group of people together? Or are we gonna be like, okay, remember that part in this game? It's going to be just like that. Here's what we're going to do. Like, everything would have like some type of relation to it, to a movie or a game.
Is there a situation that would relate to the Deadpool game? Because that'd be amazing.
I don't know the Deadpool game, sorry.
Like if Mr. Sinister showed up on a giant sentinel foot, I know what to do.
I know what to do. That would be fantastic. Maybe that's our Independence Day scenario.
I call it. I got this. All right. So I've got a list of natural disasters.
Okay.
If you can, name a movie, and would you survive it? Bonus points if you've got a sweet little story for it. Like if something's ever happened to you and... So, like, let's start with tornadoes. And you better say that movie.
What, Twister?
Yes.
Isn't it like the only one?
Sharknado.
Well, that's a little bit more than a tornado.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
an extraordinary. That's an extraordinado.
Well, I mean, there's always like the sci-fi spin-offs where there's like 40 tornadoes spawning from one. And
yeah, because there's always, and I don't. There's always like that slightly different, maybe even lesser budget one, right? Because there's always like competing studios that put out similar movies really close together. You know, like I don't know what it was with Deep Impact or, Twister, but I bet there was one probably pretty close to that time.
You know what's funny? It seems like the movies, like Armageddon, Deep Impact, that kind of scenario.
Yep.
The lesser popular one always seems to come out or have been made first.
Yeah.
But they just waited to launch it against the other one, and
Right.
yeah. But that was that.
So tornado. I've been around tornadoes actually. I don't really have an experience with them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've been around them before.
Like 10, 15 miles away, like 11 feet. Did you lasso it up? Like,
It's hard to say. Yeah, you could see it. You could absolutely see it in the sky.
mm-hmm.
So it was. I mean, if I had to guess, yeah, I'd say maybe 15, 20 miles away.
Nice.
But
They don't seem to scare me as much as,
well,
because like
if one touched pretty close to you and you saw it just shredding shit coming towards you, it might scare you.
It's funny you say that, because growing up in the UP where I grew up, they didn't happen often, but we still got them. And there were two instances. One, when I was like 12, we got one right down the main street of our city. And it was really cool to see. It wasn't anything like, it wasn't a big F5 or anything. I think it was barely an F1. And the worst it did was it chopped the stoplights all the way down the street.
Did it happen on the day of your prom?
I wish.
Do you know where I'm going
Oh
with
yeah,
that?
stuck my prom date up there. I'd be like, whoa, well, see ya. No, we had that happen, and then when I was in,
Not what I was talking about.
you were talking about Smallville, weren't you?
You got it.
He goes in after. I fuck that. Be like, oh, sorry, Elizabeth.
Did it pull her in?
Yeah, she was in the truck.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, she was in the truck, and he went in after her. And then like the next episode was her trying to convince him what she saw.
Yeah.
And he's like, nope, sorry, you were high, or whatever. No, we had the one, go down the middle of our street, or our main street, if you will. Yeah. And then when I was 17, there was one in a couple of towns over, and a bunch of us got together and went up on a train bridge and watched it just kind of plow through the fields. And ever since I was younger, I've always, like, the one thing I always wanted to do was to be a tornado chaser.
Why didn't you do that?
I don't know. I'm stupid for not doing it.
Well, you probably have to have some pretty specific degrees.
Meteorology.
Meteorology and
Like, there's a specific science degree you need, but it was no different. I think it was a 4-year course. You had to have the money to do it,
right?
Because you're basically funding the whole thing yourself. But
or you get sponsors, or whatever they would be called, I guess.
You think Mountain Dew would sponsor that?
Probably not.
Throwing up tiny cans of Kickstart in the.
Because they're gonna be like, somebody dies, we got our name on this.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. I've seen them, been around them. Both of us have, apparently. Yeah, I feel like, that's, the tornado, the twister, because all that is just like, you just have to be far enough away from it, unless there's something to where, like, I don't know. Was it like, am I thinking of 2012 or something else where they were just like spinning up and spinning and happening like all over the frickin' world? And...
Well, no, that can very well happen. I actually learned recently what it really takes for a tornado to form, because all they used to know before was there was a downdraft, there was an updraft.
Specifically with the temperatures of the air.
Yeah, and that was it. Now they're learning there's got to be an updraft, a downdraft, and then there's got to be a crosswind on top of that to get it to spin.
Makes sense.
and it doesn't go from the ground up. It's already formed, but when the dust, because you know how it looks like it forms?
Yeah.
It's just already like an invisible cloud, and that's all the dust and stuff.
Right.
Because I thought it just formed from the top and then it came up from all the drag. No, it's already there. It's just all the dust blowing in and, you know, coloring it essentially.
Right.
So I thought that was pretty cool.
That is cool. I don't know that I have a story for you, but yeah, I think that's one. I think we could survive.
Tornadoes would be super easy to survive.
Yeah, just get away.
Yeah, there was in 2009, my sister-in-law had just gotten this empty hot tub and we threw it in her garage as a cool thing to sit in because, you know, it was like a 12-person hot tub. You throw some blankets and pillows in there. It's a sweet little like lounge thing. And we opened the garage door because there was supposed to be this really wicked storm, and it ended up like thundering and lightning, purple and yellow all night.
That is awesome because I love storms.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely love storms.
And then it ended up flooding their basement because they had these like wells for basement windows, and there was a crack in the foundation.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love pretty much everything about storms.
They're
You know,
so
I like,
beautiful.
Yeah, I like watching them and being in them, and then like, especially if it's during the day when like, you know, sky gets all dark, changes colors, you get the storm coming through, and you're dealing with all the elements of that. And then if it's say, you know, if it's like during the day in like the spring or the summer, and it just completely blows through and moves past, and all of a sudden you get like that blue sky comes out again, the sun comes out again, and like the scent in the air like completely changes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, I like everything about that is just very cool.
One thing I haven't experienced in a long time, and I wish it would happen more often, is like cloudless rain. Like where the skies are still blue, but it's raining. I'd love that again. And that's a really notebook-like thing to wish for, but so cool.
Yeah.
Since
All right, stupid twisters. What do you got next?
Well, I was going to say, since we were just talking about rain, let's talk floods.
Floods?
Yeah.
Again, it's almost the same scenario, right? Just get away.
Well, floods are a little bit different because those babies can show up anywhere. And it's not like you can track it. Like, oh, there it goes. It's like, oh, shit. It's right there. I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I'm trying to picture that. I think it's just a getaway scenario.
I feel like floods are a little bit more dangerous because they come from all sides.
They could, yeah.
It's not like you can. Well, actually, you could. So my point's invalid. Never mind.
We live in Michigan, so I feel like if it were to be around here, we have some boats and canoes pretty readily at hand. So
Yeah.
I think a few of us could definitely survive.
I like seeing those pictures online of like when the Hurricane Sandy hit New York and all the surrounding areas, and people were like in their rafts paddling down like Park Avenue and stuff like that. I want to be that guy one day.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know that I wish the disaster upon anyone, but it would be a pretty cool experience, I guess.
I was gonna say, you might as well make the best out of a bad situation.
Yeah.
I mean,
as awful as that sounds.
to tie in with the whole hurricane thing, when Mike and I lived in Maryland, Hurricane Sandy was supposed to come right up where we lived, devastate that, and then head up towards New York. So we made the decision to go westward, past to where the tail end of it was, so we'd be fine. Nothing big ended up happening. There was like 3 inches of water everywhere, but, we lucked out of that.
I don't think I have any flooding stories.
Not even your basement? From too big of a poo-poo?
No, I don't think so.
Dang. Actually, you know what? I haven't had that problem yet either.
All right.
Earthquake? How you doing on earthquakes? Please hold.
I'm trying to think of when I was out in California.
Now, is this for a vacation? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
I was out in California for a vacation. LA.
Nice.
I'm trying to remember if we experienced a small one, because I think that there was a time and a moment where like we felt like everything was kind of vibrating and moving. but no one else was looking around or panicking or anything. I'm just kind of like, well, this is everyday life to them. If they just feel a slight shift or tremor,
I was gonna say
they're probably just like, eh.
This sounds like it may have been a tremor.
But yeah, I think that there was something like that when I was out there. So like it was kind of weird, different thing to like experience that. That one would be more tricky because that is one that could be just out of nowhere and just strike. And all of a sudden, you know, that one you just have to hope that you actually do survive the actual event.
Yeah.
And then discover how you're going to make it afterwards, because you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. There's almost nothing you could do about that.
Now I'm about to show you a picture of the 2011 earthquake in Virginia that was felt all the way in, actually I was in Delaware when this happened. The tremor hit and I was sitting at my desk at work, and for whatever reason I thought I was just getting ready to pass out because there was that like shaky motion, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to pass out. And I looked over and we had a turtle tank, and I saw the water sloshing in there, so I kind of put it together that, you know, maybe the building's about to explode.
I had better get out. Did you try to save the turtles?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
You're just a...
But here's a picture of the 2011 earthquake in Virginia. And I'll be sure that this gets posted on Facebook, but it's just a picture of lawn furniture with one chair tipped over. The earthquake hit in an area that did not matter. It was a blank. I think it was like in a field or just some wasteland, and then the tremor was felt all the way to the eastern shore.
In some wild open plateau.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember my mom was down visiting, and she was at my apartment, and she goes, "Is the building gonna fall?" I was like, "Oh, you felt it there too," and that's when we figured. We learned that the earthquake had hit Virginia.
Yeah. Neat. You non-turtle saving jackass.
They would have made good ashtrays. Ooh, going back to hurricanes real quick.
Sure.
Have you seen the movie Hour with Paul Walker? It was actually the last one he made.
Negative.
It's a really touching movie. This guy brings his wife to the hospital because she's ready to give birth to their daughter. And it was set in the time of Hurricane Katrina. So the power in the hospital goes out, and he's got to survive with one of the nurses making sure this child stays alive.
Okay, yeah, I remember seeing the trailer now that you mentioned that, yeah.
Because the kid still needs to be incubated and stuff. So they touch on a lot of things people don't think about when these disasters hit. Sure, they consider, you know, they won't have a home, they won't have a place to stay, they don't have a vehicle. But we also don't consider, you know, people with like diabetes who need insulin.
Right.
Or heart patients at a hospital.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So that touched on something that's very realistic to happen. And it was pretty emotional too. So last week, Josh and I discussed what our favorite moment / our best moment of the week was. Josh, did you have one from this last week, from Wednesday to today?
My favorite moment of this last week. I do. It is slightly personal, so it's something that I can't really share super specifics about.
Okay.
But I will say it has been contact. I can give a little background, a little info on that.
Okay.
No, there is someone, a friend that I haven't been in contact with very much, and just kind of random and out of the blue, did get the opportunity to actually make a connection there again, and it meant a lot. It kind of felt like things were going to be, you know, maybe in a place of where they were before again. So yeah, because there's a brief period of you know, well, I don't want to say much more, but that meant a lot to me. So that was my favorite moment of the week.
I mean, it's got to be nice though when you, especially when you think the relationship between the two of you is done, or there's some like sour note to it that's never going to be sweetened again.
Exactly. It felt like Yeah, like something was lost out of the relationship, and it was, you know, it was something that I was kind of taking a little bit head on, a little bit personally, and that maybe I was treating it as though I did something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't know, but I don't know. Hopefully things progress and get back to where they were.
For sure.
So, Sean, tell me.
WrestleMania.
I knew that's what you
WrestleMania.
were gonna say. I knew it.
Oh my god, dude, what a show!
Okay, tell me about it.
Oh man, the only letdown of the whole event was the Triple H and Sting match. Like, I was looking forward to that, and it ended up being pretty.
You got a couple old geezers in there that can barely move.
Well, the problem, I mean, they did fine themselves, but they just did so many run-ins. Like, Triple H would start, and I don't remember when they made it a no disqualification match.
They do that sometimes,
But
don't they?
like, all of a sudden, Sting's winning, and then the DX music plays, and then like all 5 members come running out, and then the announcer's like, "Oh, it's a no DQ match." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then like 5 minutes later, the NWO comes out, Hogan, Hall, and Nash, and then like another.
Seriously, they yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then like another 3 minutes later, Sting's got Triple H in the Scorpion Deathlock. Shawn Michaels comes out and super kicks Sting's face off his head, which I thought was pretty sweet because they didn't show Shawn Michaels until just before he threw the kick.
Yeah.
But that was the only like letdown of the night. I figured Taker or Bray Wyatt would be pretty slow because Taker's really up there in age.
Yeah.
The Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns match just blew expectations out of the water. Lesnar did his usual domination. They did something with Reigns I thought was really cool. He laughed during the punishment. So like he'd get suplexed and they'd show him getting up in the corner, he's giggling, which would then piss Lesnar off. But then the swerve came at the last F5 Roman Reigns took. Seth Rollins cashed in his Money in the Bank contract.
Again, complete foreign language. What the hell is the swerve? I'm sorry.
Oh man, the swerve is the thing that you don't expect to happen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the swerve was that Seth Rollins cashed in his Money in the Bank contract, which is a contract that guarantees him a title shot anytime.
That I actually knew.
Yeah, in a year period. So he cashed it in, made it a triple threat.
Oh, he didn't actually wait until the match was over and then be like, okay.
Yeah, no, he went in. He went in. He saw everybody was down.
Okay.
Yep. Curb stomped the shit out of everybody.
Yeah.
That's his finisher, and won the title.
Okay. Does
Does
that sit well with you? Is that
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I like I said last week, I wanted Brock to win, but I actually kind of like this play out more. Because last night on Raw, Lesnar went on and just destroyed everybody.
Yeah.
He threw around J&J Security, which is Seth Rollins' bodyguards, threw around Seth Rollins a little bit, flipped the announce table over on Booker T and JBL, F5 to Michael Cole, and F5 to cameraman twice. And that's how they wrote him off. They indefinitely suspended him, so he won't be seen for like the next 4 or 5 months. But just what an amazing way to do it. I'm sorry. That was my week. By the way, I love WrestleMania weekend.
Okay.
Whether I'm with people or not, it's probably one of my favorite weekends. I make a whole day out of it. Give me a pizza. Give me some burrs.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. And I scream like a child when things happen. And yeah.
Okay, well, I guess that wraps up another episode of the Heavy Sigh.
Wrap it up and put it in a bow. In a bow? Put a bow on it.
Put a bow on it.
And suck it in a box. No, stuff it in a box. Don't suck the box. Sorry.
Gift wrap the box. Put a bow on it.
There we go. No sucking.
I don't know.
Suck it.
Thank you for listening. And really quick, we want to give just a quick shout out to our friends over in Pittsburgh that run another podcast called the One Up Cup. Give them a listen too. They got some pretty cool things that they are doing over there.
Their most current episode, they discussed Mortal Kombat X or 10.
Yeah, I don't know what it's supposed to be.
Tom got the DC comics that line up between 9 and 10.
Okay.
And apparently Goro loses 2 arms in between 9 and 10.
50% of his arms?
So, like, the Goro DLC may very well just be a 2-armed Goro.
Nice.
How terrible would that be? That was Goro's only shine was his 4 arms.
It's just, instead of like holding you with 2 and like just chest stomping you with the other ones, now he's just gonna have to hold you with 1. punch you in the face with one.
I mean, I hope that doesn't happen, but we'll see.
That's interesting, though. Okay, so, yeah, the 1UP Cup, you can listen to those guys on iTunes and SoundCloud. They got some social media kicking on Facebook and Twitter, and they run a blog with all sorts of cool things that they do on there at oneup-cup.com.
Also like to give a shout out to our sponsors, Detroit Grooming. If you have a beard, get some of their oils and butter. If you have hair, get some pomades. You got a mustache, wax that bitch up. Give them a look at DetroitGrooming.com or on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Detroit Grooming.
Also, check out Cellar Door Soap and Skin for some fine handcrafted vegan soap.
Brandon.
They've got
Ooh, Brandon.
they've got Brandon, and they've got vegan soaps.
I'm like his hype man tonight.
And you can check out a lot of their stuff on the social medias as well, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and you can go to their website and look at everything that they have to offer at cellardoorsoapandskin.com. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.